Hey everyone! In this video I'm going to explain the Dawnbreaker dungeon on Mythic Plus difficulty from a tank's perspective. I'll guide you to one of the routes that I've found to be the easiest and cover the mechanics, mobs and bosses you'll encounter. This isn't an in-depth guide on every mechanic. I'll focus on the most important ones you need to handle as a tank. I'll showcase the other ones visually as we go along, so at least you have some sense of what is going on around you. If you found this video helpful or entertaining, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to my channel so you won't miss upcoming videos. I'll try to cover all the dungeons if there's enough interest. Alright, let's dive into the first pack of adds. Upon entering the dungeon, you'll encounter mobs running in from behind the building. These are the only ones you need to engage before heading onto the boat. Pull them all together, and although ensnaring shadows isn't the most dangerous spell, try to interrupt it whenever you can. It applies an annoying damage over time effect and slows one of your teammates. The other spells inflict hefty damage over time, which players need to mitigate with their cooldowns, and there's one where the targeted player must run out before the healer dispels it. From a tanking perspective, these mechanics aren't too critical at this point. As you move on to the boat, you'll encounter the next group of mobs, including the Nightfall Commander. This enemy applies a nasty stacking bleed called Tainted Slash, which can deal significant damage over time, especially if it stacks up. Make sure to time your defensive cooldowns accordingly so you have them ready when the damage starts to ramp up. Also, keep an eye out for Abyssal Howl. This ability needs to be interrupted. Next, you'll want to clear out the pack of 3 enemies at the front of the boat. There's nothing special for you need to handle here. The most noteworthy ability is Tormenting Ray, a damaged channel that deals AoE damage to and around a random team member. Once these mobs are down, you want to mount up and move over to one of the small boats flying next to the Dawnbreaker. It doesn't really matter which one you pick, as long as the team ends up flying to the same one. On these boats, you'll encounter a small pack of mobs that basically are tank and spank. You can interrupt any spell they cast. When it comes to interrupting, I try to wait until the last second of the spell cast if possible, giving melee players a chance to interrupt first so I don't waste my cooldown. Oh, and before you leave these small dinghies, make sure that you or one of your teammates detonates the bomb in the middle of the boat before you fly off. Now on to the first boss, Speaker Shadowcrown. While not overly difficult, tank positioning can be a little bit tedious. Periodically, she'll use a tank buster ability called Obsidian Beam, a heavy magic damage hit that you should mitigate as much as possible. For 7 seconds afterwards, she releases 3 void beams that move in a circular motion around her. Make sure no one gets hit by these. After that, she'll target 2 random party members with Collapsing Night, creating large growing void zones beneath them. Since we need enough room for the obsidian beams, it's important to move her away from these void zones. I found that moving to a better position just after Collapsing Night causes her to move or teleport to you once she focuses back on you. She repeats this pattern throughout the fight, so it's just a matter of rinse and repeat. At half health, she will cast Darkness Comes, a massive void bomb that will kill everyone on the ship if not avoided. Mount up and circle around the ship to escape it. Don't stay too close to the purple bomb, as it can sometimes hit you even when you're just outside its radius. Staying near the golden orbs should be safe enough. Keep her targeted and watch for when she finishes her cast so you can quickly return to tanking her and interrupt her. From this point on, Obsidian Beam will have 4 beams instead of 3. As soon as she's near death, she'll cast another Darkness Comes and die immediately afterwards, allowing you to fly off to the next position. For the next boss, you first need to kill the elites that empower her, scattered around the map. I find it easiest to go to the closest elite, Ixkreten the Unbreakable, located in a nearby church. Start by pulling the small pack at the side entrance. In pug groups, people are more likely to spot this location, and clearing these mobs gives the group more room to maneuver, leaving them the length of the next room. The next pack of adds is a bit trickier. They deal significant AoE damage, so using well-timed defensives will help your healer and make the pull go smooth. The tacticians are the ones to look out for here, since they enrage and perform a frontal cone attack, so make sure to face them away from the group. I've managed dealing with the enrage on +8 by using defensive so far, but since they are slowed while enraged, you can kite them if you're having trouble mitigating the damage. If you have someone in the group who can soothe, to remove the enrage, ask them to do so, it'll help. For the elite mob, I prefer to tank it in the same small room where we handled the previous adds, rather than in the large room as most people do. This helps the healer since the group is more tightly stacked for heals and allows me to use the room to my advantage. The elite uses Terrifying Slam, which deals significant damage, knocks you back and fears everyone nearby, so be sure to use your defensives. To deal with this effectively, tank the elite in the middle of the room with your back against a small bookcase behind you. This way, when you're knocked back, you'll hit the bookcase and won't be sent off too far. This also keeps the melee players in range and minimizes unnecessary movement, making the fight more predictable for everyone. Next, we head out the front entrance to deal with the adds on the stairs. In the video, you'll see me handling them outside, which can actually be a bit tricky for the group. The stairs can cause line of sight issues for the healer, making it harder for them to keep up. In hindsight, it's better to pull them inside, where there's more room for everyone to avoid the shadow zones on the ground and reduce the risk of accidentally pulling extra mobs. Now, on to the next elite, Ascendant Vis'coxria. Located in a dense area, so make sure you huddle up and land in a vicinity together. Have your defenses ready as soon as you engage to reduce the strain on the healer, who will likely land just after you and need a moment to stabilize. I found that positioning the mobs on the right side of the building, as shown in the video, gives the group enough space to maneuver. You'll be dealing with 2 tacticians here, which means 2 frontal cone attacks. From my experience, these don't go off at the same time. This allows you to sidestep the first one, and while it's going off, the second will be telegraphed, giving you the time to return to your original position. This makes the fight much less hectic and more predictable for the group. Next, we move on to another big mob, the Militant, which can feel a bit inefficient to take on alone, but he hits hard and has an area denial ability that can get messy if combined with the next pack. Just use this moment to enjoy the brief downtime and make sure to interrupt whenever possible. The next pack is nothing we haven't already seen before. Interrupt and make sure to face the tactician away from the group. I use Sigil of Silence to pull the pack towards me in the middle of the open space, avoiding any annoying camera angles and collision. If you don't have any means of silencing, simply use the walls to line of sight them and let them come towards you. The last elite is Deathscreamer Iken'tak. She does a Dark Orb ability that launches a slow moving large orb in a straight line, which explodes when it hits terrain. I prefer to tank her in the same spot again to avoid any camera issues and position her so that the orb moves over the stone path outside the area, ensuring it never hits anything, and this way you can completely avoid the damage. Additionally, she casts Abyssal Blast, which hits hard, so the group needs to stay mindful of that. Then we move on to the second boss, but first we need to deal with another Militant, just like the previous one. Handle it the same way, stay mindful of its abilities, and once it's down we can finally engage the boss. This boss, Anub'ikkaj, combines the major abilities of the elites you just killed. In addition, it casts animate shadows, summoning small adds at the location of a random group member. This is why it's helpful for the group to stack up a little bit just behind the boss, so you can quickly kill the adds. Coming from this side, we can also safely launch the big orb outward again. Next to that, pretty much every tank has something to negate the knockback from the tank buster, but otherwise you can choose to move a little bit more closer to the walls so you don't get punted outside of the healer range. Handle this part based on what works best for your group. Once this boss is down, you still need about 10% more mob count before you can fly up. Take it pack by pack and make sure to kill the patrol on the right first to avoid making the pull messier than necessary, as I did in this run. Ability wise, there's nothing you haven't already dealt with. Keep killing packs until you reach 95% and then start flying back to the Dawnbreaker. Back on the Dawnbreaker, you'll face the Nightfall Dark Architect, who deals a lot of shadow damage. Be sure to rotate your defensives carefully, keeping in mind that you need to mitigate magic damage, not physical. The boss also summons 3 adds at a time in an awkward position, so getting help from your group to interrupt them and let them move towards you will be really helpful. The last boss is Rasha'nan, and it's a fairly easy boss to tank. It doesn't deal too much damage and your main job is to stay in melee range, or the group will be hit by tacky burst. The group will need to handle rolling acid, which shoots out a wave of acid towards one of the outer edges. The key mechanic for the rest of the group is to pick up the bombs and detonate them on the boss to reduce its health and avoid the bomb's damage. When the boss reaches 64% health, it will fly down, forcing you to chase it using your skywriting mount. Normally, you'd follow its path, hitting the yellow orbs to extend your light buff, which makes you immune to the shadow damage below. However, we just flew directly to the final platform, where the boss lands for the last phase, and it worked for us. Once the boss is down, you'll need to interrupt it, and the bomb mechanic makes way for a web mechanic, which targets a random group member and leaves big patches of slowing web on the ground. As the tank, not much changes except you'll have to avoid more ground clutter if the melee players don't place the web patches far enough away. A thing to notice that if the webs get hit by the acid, they turn into acid pools that deal significant damage when you step onto them. At 60% health, the boss flies off and you completed the dungeon successfully. This concludes my tanking guide for the Dawnbreaker on Mythic Plus difficulty. I hope you found it helpful, and if you did, please give the video a like and subscribe to my channel. I plan on making tank guides for the other dungeons as well. So for now, good luck timing that key, and I'll see you in the next video.